Hello and welcome to my top 10 games of 2014. So we're going to go quickly over the rules. They have to be released, so they're not early access. I have to have played them enough for me to say I've played them basically, I can't have played them for 10 minutes, I've got to play them for a few hours. I don't finish games, this is the thing I don't do, so yeah, I can't say ones that I've finished, this is just released and I've played them. GTA 5 won't be on here, because A, I don't have a PS4 or Xbox One, and it's not coming out on PC until January, and B, it already came out. I might include it next year, because it'll be on PC, and it'll be an entirely different game because of all the mods, but not this year. I think that's the rules. Oh, also, all of these are my opinions, so if you don't agree with it, go. Don't go, you're so wrong. Oh, this is the reason why this is the best game ever. Because it's not the best game of the year. Because my opinion is far better than yours, clearly. Anyway, let's get started. So, number 10. Alien Isolation. So, I didn't play much of Alien Isolation. Well, when I say I didn't play much, I didn't progress. I played plenty of it. I can check right now. I played 7 hours of Alien Isolation. For me, that's a lot. That's a lot of video game for me to play of one video game. One story-based video game. Very few story-based video games hook me for 7 hours. This one did. But I didn't say hooked me. This is the problem. I didn't progress very far. And that's why it's so low on the list at number 10. Design, the aesthetic, the characters were all amazing and so true to the movie. It was the atmosphere that killed it for me. It wasn't that it wasn't scary. It's more that it was always too scary. The scare meter was always set at 10, and the second the game tried to scare you, it went to 11 and sometimes 12. And when it goes to that point, your brain just sort of goes blah, 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 blah. And you sort of just spend the next 20-30 minutes progressing to the next locked door, which is all that game's story is. It's a succession of locked doors which require a different tool to unlock. That is how the game progresses. But you progress to that locked door for the next 30 minutes, crawling, hiding under and behind everything. And yeah, that's why. I'm told when you get your hands on the flamethrower, which is about halfway through the 20-hour game, I think it is. 20-hour? Yeah, I think it's a 20-hour game. When you get your hand on the flamethrower, it becomes far more even. You actually have a chance versus the alien and versus the AI and stuff like that. It's such a shame that it isn't that even from the beginning or from the first few hours. Because the first few hours do a very good job of setting up the game. But after that, you're still you're still going blah, 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 and so on. The game is truly a wonderful piece of design, though, created by huge fans of the original movie. If you love horror and you love Alien, it's, if you love horror games, it's certainly for you. But that's why it's so low, because I just could not play that game. Number 9. Banished. I don't count Banished as a city builder like I do Tropico 5 or Cities XL or Tropico 4, Tropico 3. I would call it a village builder because I never got beyond the point of having a population beyond 100 or 200 people before it all went to hell. This game is a real balancing act. If one thing tips the scales slightly, you'll feel the effects of that for hours as you try to crawl back to where you once were. Your crops get hit by a blight, leaving you one portion short. That portion falls on your woodcutter, who then dies from starvation, meaning no wood is cut, meaning no fires can be lit. Suddenly winter's here, your farmers all die, meaning no one can be fed. They're cold, they're hungry, dying. You could try to regain control of the situation, but by this point, you've admitted defeat and just watched the village collapse on itself. That's Banished in a nutshell for me. And I loved how one false move could just completely kill everything. So yeah, that's why I love Banished, and that's why it's number 9. It's not higher because I felt that there was no real progression, like there was no texture or anything, which I think a city builder or village builder sort of needs. Everything was available. It was literally just had to get the materials. And I didn't get on too well with that, because I just like some sort of progression. Whereas you can get to a point where you're comfortable. If you don't grow anymore, you're fine. And the tech tree stops you from doing that because you want to get this next bit of thing. But yeah. Number 8. Valiant Hearts. From a publisher who's put out a whole load of crap this year comes this, Valiant Hearts. A diamond in the rough. This year's Ubisoft E3 conference went from a silly high with what's-her-face, Aisha, is it? Being all #girlwood or whatever she does, I can't remember. To this trailer for Valiant Hearts. A trailer which had me on the edge of tears by the end of it. Seriously, I was nearly crying by the end of that trailer. This has been one of the most heartfelt and sensible takes on the centenary of the Great War I've seen all year. It manages to maintain a dark, emotional atmosphere in the majority of the game, breaking it up with musical travel segments in which you have to avoid obstacles while driving a car or flying a ship or whatever airship, in time to music such as the Can-Can, which has to be one of the most entertaining aspects of a video game I've ever come across, is doing musical sequence in such a way that they do it. So if you want to play a Ubisoft game this year, I suggest you play Valiant Hearts. 7. Tropico 5. You can't not love a game whose tech tree unlocks some hilarious jokes. Tropico 5 is a vast improvement over the previous iterations of the games. I felt that Tropico 5 was mostly just a polished Tropico 3. 5, however, mixes the Tropico formula up, bringing a new era system, which means you need to reach certain goals before you can progress further into the tech tree, and further through the game, of course. The multiplayer in Tropico 5 is great fun too. You can play a semi-co-op game, or you can start on either side of the island, first fighting for resources and then fighting each other's militaries. The game is the best city build we've had recently, and it's nearest thing we've got to a proper SimCity 5. We don't mention the SimCity reboot. 6. Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. I may not be the best player, in fact some days I may be truly awful at Hearthstone, but Hearthstone is still a whole lot of fun. I've never been interested in the TCG or CCG or ABCDEFG or whatever it is, I have no idea, it's one of those. Until Hearthstone came along, and that's when I got interested in the ABCDEFG or whatever you want to call it. And just these past weeks, they launched the Android tablet version and Goblins vs. Gnomes, I think it's called. And the tablet version means I can never get away from Hearthstone now. I can play it when I'm watching TV, I can play it on the toilet, I can play it in my bed, I can play it on my computer. It's just, no, it's endless. Hearthstone is endless now. Hearthstone is never finishing, it's never finished playing Hearthstone. Yes. When I'm rendering videos, I pull up Hearthstone as something to play, and play for a few hours, because I can. My rendering will take an hour at most, but I will play for a few hours. It's truly one of the biggest time sinks I've found in years, and no matter how many times I get an awful hand and feel entirely overpowered, which is a lot, I still love the game. 5. Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous has just launched, which means it was just in time to get on this list. This is a game people have been dreaming of for years, a hark back to the days of Elite franchise. Spawning on the BBC Micro and carrying on for a number of iterations. Now, Elite Dangerous isn't without its flaws, but this is why it's midway in the list instead of at the top of it. It lacks content promised at launch, it lacks features that have promised to its original backers, it touts itself as an MMO, but lacks any sort of social ability outside the basic chat it gives you to nearby players. However, aside from that, it's a really fun game, with a huge scale. So big, it's the Milky Way. I mean, it's the actual Milky Way. Now, when I picked up Elite, I was split between Star Citizen and Elite, and I went for Elite, and it was in beta, coming out before the end of the year. That's literally it, and I'm so glad I did, because Star Citizen has only just started to get new things outside of I think they had a combat demo, I think that was it, I don't know, but I wasn't sure what to expect, but when I first stepped into the game I was blown away. It's beautiful, and it's massive, its combat has a satisfying feel, and so far we've already seen some huge player-driven events like the Siege of Luch, or however you pronounce that. So, sure, it needs some features and some tweaking here and there, but it's a darn sight better than most of the games that come out these past few months. 4. The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. This isn't just a reskin, oh no. This is a whole new game. Sure, it's got the same core mechanic of Binding of Isaac, where it's a 2D roguelike, I don't know. But the addition of a new engine that isn't Flash-based makes this whole game so much better. Where in the original you could only say have one type of shot modifier, now you can have endless modifiers, modifiers upon modifiers upon modifiers, modifiers with their own modifiers. It's ridiculous. Not only is the engine improved, but there is so much more content. In the original, you got to a point where you felt you had comfortably seen most, if not all, of the game had to give within a few playthroughs. Not so much in Rebirth. Each achievement unlocks a new item or character or room or who knows what. It just never seems to stop handing out new stuff to you. And not in a Call of Duty way, in a, oh, that's interesting, I'm probably never going to find that anyway, because there's already so much stuff I haven't seen yet. 3. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. It promised to be a game that doesn't hold your hand, and the initial prescience it never once hinted that it would turn out to be just as spooky and chilling as it was. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter is a venture game in the truest sense. You are Paul Prospero, a detective who has recently received a letter from a child called Ethan Carter, asking you for help. When you first enter the world, you find yourself looking at a bloodstain on a train track, and not much else. But soon the game reveals its true colours. As you hunt through clues to find the answer to what happened to the Carter family and eventually Ethan himself. Ethan's family have been possessed by the Sleeper, who is determined to silence Ethan. This is one of the most immersive and creepiest games I've ever played. Multiple times I've had to stop playing because the chills down my back became so much that I was almost permanently looking around my dimly lit room with a feeling of something behind me or someone. 2. This War of Mine. Now, this is where everything gets a bit blabbery, so excuse me, but these are my favourite games of the year, so I'm going to blabber away. Now, this War of Mine, in an era full of modern military shooters, survival games with crafting and zombies, and always zombies, a small team decided to try and make something different, and I'm so glad they did. This War of Mine is a survival game with crafting, but bear with me, set in the middle of a war-torn town. Instead of being a lone soldier surviving a zombie outbreak, or even a group of soldiers surviving a zombie outbreak, in this War of Mine, you play as a small group of survivors, not in a zombie outbreak. Having found your way to an empty, torn-apart building, you must face the consequences of war. Not only is it a unique perspective on the survival genre, not only is it not set in a zombie outbreak, this has to be one of the most morally grey games I've ever played. Games with a similar level tend to force you to pick between bad and bad, but this War of Mine never forces you to. You may be low on food, you could then steal from the old couple, or you could wait it out one more day, the trader might come along, then... Or you could take out some bandits and steal them supplies, but then you might die. Then everyone else in your house would be sad. There were points in my playthroughs of this War of Mine where I came out of a situation feeling like an awful human. And levels where I came out like I genuinely helped someone stay alive for just one more day. As I said, I'm waffling on, but seriously, if you want a survival game that's different, not set after a zombie outbreak, and is finished, no, it's not early access, pick up this War of Mine. And number 1, Wolfenstein: The New Order. This has got to be the best single-player FPS I've played in years. I finished the game in a matter of days, which anyone who knows me will tell you that's rare. It's rare for me to even finish a game. This year I finished about 4. Not even that, in fact, about 3. Yeah, it's got to be one of the simplest but most effective stealth systems I've seen in years. Games like Metro sometimes focus a bit too much on making the AI incredibly intelligent, responding to you reloading, or a light going out, or a shadow moving along the floor, or a rat running across its foot, or everything in the world. Wolfenstein throws that all out for a simple, if a little underused, stealth system which relies on the vision and sound alone. If you shoot a loud gun, everyone will hear it. If you get caught by an AI, he'll call to his buddies and then begin to hunt. Even better is the fact that they rarely stop hunting for you. So many games have recorded lines such as, "Oh, I guess it was the wind," or "Oh, stupid rats." No, that man aiming a gun at your face wasn't the wind. It was a man aiming a gun at your face. Of course, Wolfenstein: The New Order takes a little inspiration from its heritage. Rarely, if at all, are you forced to be stealthy. You can just go all guns blazing, dual wielding all weapons available in the game. It's great fun. Add to this a well-written and fleshed out story which at times becomes a bit silly, but manages to keep its head for the majority. I was genuinely impressed and infused by Wolfenstein: The New Order. So that's my top 10 games of 2014. I was going to do another top 5, I think it was, of what I called no just no moments, but it turned out to just be Ubisoft basically. So yeah. So thank you for watching. Hopefully this goes up on whenever it goes up, hopefully. Yeah, I shall see you in the new year. I believe I'm taking the next week off just as a holiday because family time. So I shall see you in the new year. Goodbye.